But it is important you also understand that when it comes to risks in public-private partnership arrangement, there are types of risks. So let's go through some of the types of risks quickly when it comes to public-private partnership arrangement. The first one is called construction risk. What is this? This represents all the issues that may arise at the construction phase of the project. So, cost overruns. Maybe we wanted to build a public toilet and it will cost $100,000. But by the time we started, because of inflation or economic issues, there are certain things that had to be imported, and all of that, now we are going to spend around $150,000. That extra $50,000, no, it's called construction risk. In a PPP arrangement, the question is, who bears that risk? Who will bear that risk? Is it a private investor or the government? Or it will be borne by the two parties who bears the risk? But that is the idea about construction risk. Then building material defects. So the materials that have been bought to use to undertake the project, by the time we started construction, we have identified some defects in them. Who bears that risk? Whose responsibility is that? Then, technical deficiencies. All these are construction risks. Then we come to the second type of risks, and that is availability risk. This refers to the risk that the infrastructure may not be sufficient for the end users. So this risk comes at the end of the project, that we've done the thing, it is ready for use, but it is being overwhelmed. The fact that it is not enough to serve all the people. That is the concept of availability risk. Now, the reason why this may come up may be because of poor planning and poor execution of the project. Because if we have, say, a community that is having maybe 50,000 people in the community, and we are doing public toilets, and 50,000 people, you build or construct only 10 public toilets in the community, and that is all there is, I think that there will be an availability risk. Because, I mean, people get up and they go to poo-poo, and there are only 10 public toilets in the city, or in that town, or in that location. There will be problem. So, to prevent that, imagine, sorry I'm using poo-poo, okay, but I hope you understand, so bear with me. So imagine, you get up early in the morning, and then you want to poo-poo. Then you go to the public toilet. There is a long queue there. I mean, how many people can hold it and say, I'm going to wait until Kofi Ama Ajua Akosua Kukua Ohema finishes before I go? By the time you realize, people will just revert back to auto reset. Let's go by the bush. Go poo-poo in the bush. Some natural air will pass by you. My God, that feeling is overwhelming feeling. So that is the concept of availability risk. That although the project is done, it can be used, it may not be sufficient for the end users. And that has a lot of disadvantages. 3 is demand risk. So this is the flip side of the availability risk. This refers to the risk that arises as a result of the viability in the amount of service required or consumed by the users of the infrastructure. So the demand risk is you will undertake something and nobody will be interested in it. Or the people who are interested in it are fewer than the capacity. That is the demand risk. So the demand risk is the reverse of the availability risk. Again, why will this happen? Because of poor planning. So although the project is done, many people are not using it. Now, another reason why this could happen is because of the price. Like what I mentioned earlier, end user fee. We want to poo-poo, you are charging 3 Ghana cedi to poo-poo. I'm not going to pay 3 Ghana cedi to go poo-poo. So let's go to the bush rather. That's better. And that is what people will do. So although the facility is available, they will not use it because it is too expensive for them. That is the concept of demand risk. 4, residual risk. This refers to the possible difference between the expected residual value of the infrastructure and the actual value at the end of the agreed period. I will come back to this concept later, but get it here. The concept under PPP arrangement is that there are types of PPP where the private investor build the thing and then maintain it and then get his money at the end, transfer the residual assets to the contracting entity, the government or the covered entity. And so at the beginning of the contract, there will be an expectation that, oh, maybe this is a 20-year deal. At the end of the 20 years, the value of the property you give us is $10 million. But sometimes, by the end of the 20 years, the date that the asset is being transferred or the infrastructure is being transferred to our entity, the value of the property is just $5 million. So the difference between the expected amount, 10, and the actual amount at the date of the transfer, 5, is called the residual risk. The question again is, who bears that risk? But that is something we must understand when it comes to public-private partnership arrangement. 5, financing risk. I believe you don't need miracle on this one because, the eating is in the pudding or whatever. Those of you who went to Montessori, you know what that means because it's obvious, right? It refers to the risk that full funding required for the project will not be obtained at the expected interest rate or may not be available or accessible. That's financing risk. Because remember, the private investor is not that they have the money sitting there. Sometimes the private investor will go borrow the money. Because, it is cheaper to borrow money to use it for your business, for tax purposes, rather than using your own money. So the risk that when we want to now begin the project, we thought that we would borrow the money at 10% interest rate, only for the project to commence, and now we are supposed to pay 15%. We thought that we would get the $10 million for the project, only for us to go to the bank when the project was about to start, and the bank says, hey, we are facing situations by ourselves, so we can only get you $4 million. What happens? How do we get the extra funding to pay for the project? That is financing risk. Then number 6 is maintenance and operational risk. Again, this is obvious. You don't need a miracle on this. Maintenance and operational risk. These relate to all the other issues arising in the operations of the infrastructure, the regular maintenance, making sure that the asset is operating at its optimum capacity. Who bears that risk? Who pays for that? That is the idea about maintenance risk. It's important you note this, that the risks must be allocated to the party, that is either the contracting entity or the private investor, with the requisite expertise to manage the risk effectively in order to maximize value for money. Because if it is about financing and it is a private investor bringing in the money, then issues about financing risk, the private investor should have the expertise to handle it. If it is about the day-to-day running of the infrastructure after it is done, then based on the contract, who is supposed to bear it? If it is the government that is going to run it, then the government bears that. So we have to know these risks because it must be allocated to the party with the expertise to be able to deal with the risk so that on the overall, we can maximize value for money. So these are the things we must understand when we talk about types of risks. And this is a specific question the examiner can throw at us in the exam hall that we need to be mindful of.